Tori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Animal Sanctuary. It is Friday night, just a little after 2200 or 10 p.m. on April 19th, 2024, and our official Friday night observation period for our SPI enclosure use study that we are doing with Python Regis has officially started. And I thought I would give you a glimpse of what that looks like for me and the other participants for the next 4 hours. And then we're going to repeat the same thing tomorrow, Saturday, April 20th, for another 4 hours. So we're watching the snakes for 4 hours in the middle of the night and for 4 hours in the middle of the day, from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., or that is 2200 to 0200 hours. And then again from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. during the day, or 1000 hours to 1400 hours. And I'm going to show you what our observation forms look like. We are observing the snake's behavior doing an ethogram, and we're marking several things on our collection sheet every 15 minutes for each snake. So here's what the forms look like. We're marking down every 15 minutes during a 2-hour period from 2200 to 0100, and I'm in the mountain time zone, so we need to make sure we indicate which time zone this, but everybody across the world that's in this study is doing 2200 to midnight in their time zone and indicating what their time zone is. We are keeping track of the date, the animal's ID, in this case it's Maeve, and then the observer's name, which is me. We're marking down what zone of the enclosure the snake is found in every 15 minutes for this 2-hour period, what quadrant of the enclosure they're in, what focal behavior they're doing at that time, and if we're noticing any stereotypies or stress behaviors at this time. So you might be asking, what do we do after midnight? Because I said the observation periods were 4 hours long. Let's take a look. If you flip the form over, there's space for another 2 hours of observation. Every 15 minutes, we're marking these zones and these behaviors. And you'll see, because now this is after midnight, we're in the next day, April 20th, 2024. This is again for Maeve. We just turned it over. So the first 2 hours is on the first side. The last 2 hours of observation is on the second side. This is from 0100 or midnight to 0200 or 2 a.m. mountain time, and I am the observer. And so we have one of these sheets for every snake in the study. I'm observing 6 Python Regis, and then we have participants all over the world that are observing other Python Regis. I keep on my clipboard with me a cheat sheet of the zones and what they are in case I forget when I'm marking them. I keep the cheat sheet of the quadrants and the definitions of the focal and stress behaviors in case when I'm doing my observations, I need to be reminded of what the definitions and areas are so I know exactly what to check off in the box. So this method that we have decided to do for this enclosure use study is a tried and true method of behavioral observations. It is called scan sampling, and it is where we fill out these forms by just checking the boxes in the correct category every 15 minutes. So I would look at the snake now and I would mark down exactly what they're doing. And then 15 minutes later, I would do the exact same thing. And we do that every 15 minutes for the stipulated period of time. In this case, it's 4 hours at night and then another 4 hours in the middle of the day. And it gives us just a picture, a snapshot. If we collect enough data, and we're doing this for 8 weeks, so we're going to have 8 weeks of 8 hours of observation every week. And yes, we're going to miss all the behaviors they do in between when we're not observing them, but it gives us an overall big picture of where the snakes are spending time and what they're doing. And this is a tried and true method in behavior science of observing and documenting behavior. Again, it's using an ethogram and it's called scan sampling. Hi everybody, it is 22:25. I've just completed my first round of 15-minute observations on the 6 Python Regis that I'm observing. Now, in addition to that, I'm observing 6 other snakes as well for a study that I'm doing that's separate. So I'm observing every 15 minutes 6 Python regis for our habitat use study, and I'm also observing another 6 snakes of a different species for another study at the same time, trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. So the 15-minute interval goes pretty quickly for me because I'm observing 4 snakes in this building, and then I'm going out to my other building. So I'm having to mark down everything, run out to the other building, mark down everything there, come back, and I usually have about 5 to 8 minutes in between to rest, have a drink, and then start over again, and I'm doing that for the next 4 hours. So this is one of the other species that I am taking behavior data on for a separate study. And so every 15 minutes, I just go by the enclosure and I find where she's at. She's inside this hide, and I can see right inside the hide. So I just mark that on the data collection form that at this time she's in that hide. I mark what quadrant of the enclosure that is and any behavior that I can see that she's doing, and I can see that she's coiled inside the hide. Now these 3 snakes are in the Python regis SPI enclosure use study. So again, at the 15-minute intervals, I come up to the enclosure, I look at where the snake is. This one, Maeve, is also in this black box cages hide. So I mark down that she's in that hide and what quadrant of the enclosure that is, and then any behavior that I can see that she is doing. And then I look down here for Finnick, and I mark where she is and what she's doing, what zone and quadrant she's in. And then I look down here at Buffy, and I've already completed my official observations. That's why I have the light on. I normally don't have the light on when I'm doing these for the study. So she's down there, and I would mark that she's in that hide, that she is in an ambush position, and then what quadrant of the enclosure that is. And so every 15 minutes then, I walk around to all of the 12 animals that I'm looking at for these studies, and I mark down the behaviors onto a data collection form, and then I turn these in to one of my colleagues, one of the fellow researchers, who's putting them all on a spreadsheet. And then at the end of the 8-week study period, all of that spreadsheet data will go to a statistician at Sparsault University, and they will do graphs and come up with all of the data and the results for us. I'm sure that generated some questions for some of you, and I'll try to answer a couple of them now. One thing that I would ask if I watched that and didn't know any better is, are we turning the lights on at night to observe the snakes? No, we're not. In fact, if we can use the cameras that we bought for the study to observe the snakes, we are doing that first. So if we're able to see the snakes in real time on the cameras, then we can just mark their behavior from another room, and we don't even have to go in there where the snake is. The camera is not always sensitive enough to pick up the moving snake or the motion of the snake, as they're meant to surveil people. And it will pick up humans and dogs walking by the outside of the enclosures, but it's not always automatically picking up the snake's movement. But we can activate the camera on our phones and look in real time as it's recording. So if we're able to see what the snake's doing, we can do that every 15 minutes and mark it down. But if we can't see the snake on the camera, then we have to physically walk in and see what they're doing. And I just take a flashlight with me. And if I can't see the snake via the ambient light in the room, I shine the flashlight in there super fast to see where they are, and I mark down where they are and what they're doing. Of course, during the daytime, that's not an issue. We can use the cameras as a tool to help us, but if we have to walk in and observe the snakes physically in the daytime, their lights are on and there's plenty of ambient light in the room. Our light cycle for the study is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. No matter where in the world the study participant is. We have the timers or whatever system each individual is using on an 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. schedule.